A whistleblower is anybody who discloses information in the public interest.
I thought I was doing the right thing, and I thought I was doing my job.
Whistleblowers in many ways are elected by circumstance. It's not about your credentials, it's not about who you are, it's about what you've seen.
The UN's chief expert on the right of freedom of expression and access to information has just released a very important new report on the protection of confidential sources and whistleblowers.
It's important to protect whistleblowers because of the very reason that very often they're the only mechanism by which the public learns of critical information of public interest.
Whistleblowing is really catching our attention these days because of prominent cases like Ed Snowden, Chelsea Manning, or Caesar, the Syrian government photographer. These are people who draw our attention to serious problems that are being cloaked in secrecy.
A lot of people say, including a lot of politically powerful people, say that internal channels are enough.
Unfortunately, when we look at how these things actually function, you can ask anybody who works at a secret organization, for example, like the National Security Agency, what happens to people who illustrate some kind of wrongdoing, some violation of law? Are they rewarded or are they punished?
Individuals are still being sentenced to many years in prison. They are being forced out of their jobs. They're facing all sorts of penalties. And those disproportionate penalties actually undermine the access to information.
Catherine Bolkovich was subcontracted through the UN system to be a trainer for UN police in Bosnia. She discovered that some of these police were actually sex trafficking.
I had initially gone to my employers through DynCorp and through the United Nations International Police Task Force, through the United Nations itself, all the way up the ladder, through their Internal Affairs Office, which was practically non-existent. And it really was not until after I was terminated by this corporation with the backing of the United Nations that I was advised to go to the press, because that really was the only way to bring out what was happening at that time.
It's important for us to remember that someone who's a whistleblower today might have been an anonymous confidential source for a journalist, and might in the future become an important witness at a war crimes trial or a truth commission. Protecting these people from retaliation is important.
I'm quite sure that I've been turned down for various positions throughout the years because of my whistleblowing. So that really does kind of stymie your career and put a real damper on what you do with the rest of your life once you come forward with this.
A whistleblower has to almost be comfortable with the idea of becoming a martyr, because the probability of retaliation is so certain. But if we structure our societies in such a way that people reporting wrongdoing of the most serious nature have to basically stand up and light themselves on fire, we're very quickly going to find ourselves out of volunteers at the very moment when society needs them the most.
Governments often have legitimate reasons to keep things secret, but it's never a legitimate interest simply to protect officials from embarrassment or hide the workings of a government institution or cover up wrongdoing.
But it's about change that comes from the public statements of officials, that officials don't simply say the whistleblower deserves to be punished, but acknowledge that the whistleblower has performed, in a sense, a public service.
And blowing the whistle has to be recognized for what it so often is: exposing serious wrongs and defending human rights.